What other tips have you got for building your confidence up on a bike? Don't crash. Excellent. Don't crash.
A question I get asked all the time is, how do you build your confidence up as a new rider? And when I was a new rider, honestly, I was so nervous. If you have watched the story about how I started riding and then quit riding because I was just terrified of it, and then we ended up touring around Europe, then the link is up here somewhere for you. But there are some things that I did that really helped improve my feeling of confidence, if not necessarily my ability, but just how I felt on the bike. And then there are some tips that I can share with you as well, which actually make things a little bit easier for you whilst you're on there. So if you're feeling a bit nervous, this is the video for you.
So the first thing would be to make sure that you are set up ready to go for a bike ride. Make sure that you've got the right gear, so you want a helmet that fits, gloves, jacket, trousers, back protector if you're planning on going crazy fast, boots. But also make sure that you're in the right space mentally. I am a huge believer in bikes being therapeutic. You know, days when I'm feeling depressed or sad or just like the world is out to get me, riding a bike can change all of that, and that's amazing. But I will never ride a bike when I am angry, because you're just not in the right headspace to pay attention to the road, what's going on around you. And it's important because of that, when you're all emotional and angry and everything else, that is when you're going to get yourself into trouble. So when you're in the right headspace, next thing that I recommend you doing is going out for rides on your own. And I know that sounds ridiculous given the fact that I do most of my riding with my husband, but I didn't start feeling more confident on a bike until I knew I could get the bike out by myself, get myself ready to go, get the bike ready to go, and then just go off and have a ride, even if it was just, you know, down to the shops or down for a coffee or for an ice cream. But just being able to get the bike sorted and do it all by myself, and then feel confident that I can handle, you know, idiots on the road or rain. It just builds your confidence knowing that you can handle it. Now, I don't recommend going like a bat out of hell. You've got nothing to prove to anyone, which is another reason for riding alone. If you have a partner or husband or wife that rides, then absolutely go with them and they'll be able to give you some tips. But don't go out with your friend, and don't go out for group rides until you're feeling more confident, because ego is this pervasive thing, and it's not just a guy thing, it's really not. There are plenty of girls, myself included, who you want to look good, you want to prove that you can keep up with the boys, and riding with other people makes you much more likely to do something stupid. So if you start riding with a group of friends, or you go out for an organised group ride, there's going to be idiots. There's also going to be people that ride quicker than you, even when they say they won't. You will be slower. You'll be slower at junctions, you'll be slower at corners, you'll be slower when the road surface is a bit odd, you'll be slower when there's gravel. But if you try and keep up with people, it's like going on a track day and trying to keep up with a fast group, for goodness sake. You're going to hurt yourself, you're going to come off, you're going to have a crash, and that's not going to do anything other than just tear you down and make you feel really rubbish. So don't do it. I would avoid fast roads for a while, so no motorways or highways or dual carriageways, anything where you're going to be riding fast and people are going to be riding fast around you. That's another thing that I would highly recommend. One of the biggest things I did actually is I did a lot of practice of slow manoeuvring. So I was really nervous to ride when I started, well, both when I passed my test, but particularly when I'd scared myself. And my husband, because we live in the middle of a city, my husband used to ride my bike. I would take the car and we'd go to an industrial estate after hours where it was pretty much empty, and bless him, he'd sit in the car and read a paper or do some work or do whatever he was doing, and I would just ride around the industrial estate like it was a road. So I would practice pulling up to junctions like this one, I would practice pulling away, I would practice God, I love this bike. I'd practice stopping at junctions, I'd practice small turns, I'd practice U-turns, I'd practice figure of eights. I'd practice all the things that you do actually use really quite regularly. You know, on a car, and you sort of, I don't like parallel parking, so I won't do it that often, even though it's a really useful skill and you should probably practice that. But you just think, well, I just won't do it. On a bike, you kind of need to be able to do U-turn and stuff. So yeah, I would definitely spend the time practicing those sorts of manoeuvres so that you feel more confident doing them when you have to, because you can guarantee that your first time you'll need to do a U-turn will be at a biker cafe or somewhere where there's an audience and they're all judging you and they're all looking to see how bad you are at this thing, and if you can just pull it off and be a bit smug about it, yeah, that builds your confidence too. So definitely go after hours, somewhere quiet, car park, an industrial estate, some really deserted roads are a bit difficult, because although they're deserted, the people who are going to use them are boy racers or people who are going to ride really quick down the roads because they know that they're deserted, and if they happen to come around you doing a U-turn, that's going to lead you into trouble. So I wouldn't suggest trying to do slow manoeuvres on a road. I would try and do it somewhere out the way, like a car park or an industrial estate or somewhere like that. The next thing that I'd recommend doing, which is really tough, and I know that it's not anyone's favourite thing, is learning how to pick up your bike, and also learning how to stop your bike at a junction. So I'm really lucky, I'm 5'11", I've got ridiculously long legs, and I can ride pretty much any bike I can sit on and put both legs down on either side. However, that comes with its own problems, which I'll talk about at some point, because it means that I can't actually get my feet up on the pegs on every bike. But I can at least put my legs down to steady myself, which I know a lot of people who are shorter than me have an issue with. So the biggest tip I would have for that, and one of the biggest mistakes I made as a new rider, was I always used to only put my left leg down. And I was taught to always just put one leg down, so I was never taught to put both down. And then we pulled up at this mini roundabout, and it had a weird camber on the mini roundabout, and the left side just dropped away basically. And I was on my scrambler, I was on my Triumph Scrambler, and I put my left leg down and it just kept going, and the bike started leaning over to the left because my foot just wasn't finding the floor, because obviously the camber dropped away, but I hadn't really noticed, to the point that the bike leant over so far that I just dropped it. And yeah, that'll knock your confidence down. Dropping a bike's never going to make you feel good. What makes you feel even worse, however, because at some point we pretty much all will drop our bikes, but what makes you feel even worse is not being able to get the thing back up again. It's basically rubbing salt into a pretty sore wound. And here we go, we're going on the motorway. I'm really hoping you can hear me, although they have limited the speed now to only 50 miles an hour, so it shouldn't be too bad. Let me see how many people are trying to kill me today. No, I'll get it. Yeah, so I dropped the bike. We're at this mini roundabout, so I've effectively now blocked the road because my bike is now lying on its side. And I really struggled picking up. It didn't help that, again, the camber was weird, the road had dropped away, but I really struggled picking it up. I might be tall, but I am not He-Man or She-Ra, and my upper body strength is not amazing. So learn how to pick your bike up in a way that works for you. There's no point me telling you how I pick my bike up, because if you're 5'1", that ain't going to work for you. There's no point me telling you how I use my legs mainly rather than my arms, because most of my strength, like a lot of girls, most of my strength is in my legs, because if you're a guy you're going to find it a lot easier to use your arm strength if you've got it. So find ways, there's loads of videos on YouTube about how to pick up a bike. Find a way that works for you and works for the bike that you've got as well. You need to be able to figure out where to hold it, where you can pull on it without doing further damage and stuff. But that, once you realise you can do that, and I would recommend using pillows or padding or something to lie your bike on so you don't damage your bike when you try and drop it over, but practice that a couple of times from both sides so that you know you can pick it up again. I don't know if filtering is legal or not where you are, but one thing that I don't do, and certainly wouldn't recommend you do if your confidence is really low, is to filter, because you're just gonna scare yourself or you're gonna have some idiot pull out on you. So don't filter too much if you don't have to or if you don't want to. There is no law, even if it's legal in your country, that you have to filter. Just sit and wait. Next tip that I would have to build up your confidence is to ride on familiar roads so that you can feel quicker on them. You can get quicker on them. You know when the bends are, you know when the sharp corners are coming, you know where the dangerous corners are, you just know how it feels to ride those roads. Get on, people, let me open it up a bit. No, nobody wants to play today. There we go. Yeah, and the more you ride them, the better you're going to get. The better you're going to get at those roads, the better you're going to feel on those roads, and that's going to build your confidence up, because half our nerves are not knowing what's around the next bend, not knowing how sharp that corner is, not knowing if there's a road where people can pull out. And I get it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love riding new places. One of the reasons that we love motorcycling is it's such a brilliant way to explore a new place. But if you're trying to feel more at one both with your bike and in yourself on a bike, then just keep riding the same road so that you can know where you're going and you know how it is, and that will definitely make a huge improvement to how you feel in yourself on a bike. While I'm on it, I'd also recommend, it's difficult because I think everyone should learn how to ride in the rain. I think everybody should have that skill of not panicking if it starts raining when you're out and the road suddenly starts feeling a bit slippery. But I also don't think you should scare yourself too much too soon. Don't try and do everything all at once. So try and avoid riding in the rain just for a little while until you feel a bit more settled. Also, you see all these big white lines? Like these arrows and the drains and all these other things. Try and avoid riding on them. Not always possible, obviously. But if you can avoid the bumps and then the white lines get really, really slick and slippery, if you can avoid riding on them and scaring yourself, that will make your life a little bit easier too. And there's my husband. Hi. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. You go in front. Go in front. Now, a trick he taught me actually was to blip when you are coming up. So if you're coming up to a junction where a car is looking to pull out, I don't mean at lights, but something where they could pull out at any moment, and you're not 100% sure that they've seen you, learn how to pull in your clutch and rev your engine like that, so that people around you, it just brings their attention. And I am again a huge believer in having a loud exhaust. It's cute of him to wait for me. But yeah, stick a loud pipe on your bike, rev your engine when you see, just not every time, not every junction, but when you're not sure that they've seen you and you just want to draw their attention to the fact that you're there, you're coming. Should we really upset him? Should we really, really upset him? He gets annoyed when I overtake him. It really bugs him. I'm not for a second thinking that I'm quicker than him, because this boy's been riding since he was like 2 days old. I swear he came out of the womb on a bike. But he just and it also really bugs him. He's on the ZX10, I'm on the 6R, and yeah, show off. And it bugs him because my bike has a louder exhaust than he does. Bye. He'll shout at me in a minute for speeding. I'm going to put my intercom on and see if his lordship has got any other bright tips for you. Bear with me. Stick your intercom on. Hello. I need to do a review on this intercom actually, because it's blinking brilliant. What other tips have you got for building your confidence up on a bike? Don't crash. Excellent. Don't crash. Oh, I like that. Ride defensively, not aggressively. Presume everyone else is going to be, I don't know if we're allowed to say the word knobhead. Dickwad. Do you know what I discovered the other week that blew my baby brain? Americans don't use the word wanker.
Yeah, I know.
But it's like the best word. Yeah. Just presume that everyone else is a muppet and that they haven't seen you and that they are just going to pull out on you. Expect the unexpected. Oh, I tell you what really helped me actually was, actually two things helped me. One was learning how to roll the clutch and the accelerator on and off. So yeah, the throttle control and the clutch control and being smooth with that. And the thing that he told me, which really helped picture it in my head, was think of it like ringing out a tea towel. Sort of rolling off the accelerator, pulling your clutch in, changing a gear, vice versa. And then letting your clutch out and putting the revs back on. So that really helped. And then the other thing that really helped was learning how to counter steer. Learning how to counter steer, because the number of times I've gone into a bend, even on the roads, too fast, and felt totally out of control. But counter steering and knowing that the bike will do it and that I am the weakest link in this plan does really help to know that the bike will get around anything at pretty much any speed if you're confident enough to make it. Oh, and the other thing which was really helped was learning to look at where you want to go, not at what you're going to hit. And that's probably a massive thing, because it's human nature to look at the obstacle and look at, oh my goodness, I'm going to hit that drain pipe, or I'm going to hit the curb, or I'm going to hit the whatever. And then the problem is, whatever you're looking at on a bike is you just naturally steer at it. Learning how to look at where you want to go and trusting that your bike will follow your eyes rather than staring at what you don't want to hit. Don't look at it, because you will hit it. I think the biggest thing that I want to say is that you can do this. You are not by any means the first rider to have passed their test or still be working towards taking their big boy test and feel nervous and feel underconfident and wonder what the heck you are doing to yourself. And some people get on a bike and they just have a natural affinity for it and they never get scared, so they say. But hundreds, if probably thousands of bikers pass their test, you know, and just feel nervous. And again, I don't believe it's a girl thing. Guys just don't talk about it so much. But that doesn't mean you don't feel nervous, and it's okay. You can definitely do this. You can definitely build up your confidence. If I can do it, feeling as absolutely wretched as I did, and then go off and explore Europe and the UK, then you can definitely do the same thing. There's nothing stopping you. It's just going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of practice. Actually, that's a great place to end. And remember to turn your indicator off at all times. Only a Muppet would leave it going.